Welcome back to part 3 of our Beginner Zero to Guru Hero Cooking Edition. Previously, we cooked ourselves up to M1 with a combo of vinegar and pickled vegetable. Getting to M1 is the easy one, but today I want to go over some fundamentals of material usage in Imperial Delivery. I'll drop a few dishes for you to create, but I will preface this is about learning how to find out what to cook more than what to cook itself. As we enter into the meal category, having all your eggs in one meal can be detrimental to your income stream. Unless you're working with a large capital already, this can be extremely limiting to continuous output. So let's get started. So you can keep creating vinegar or pickled veg until your brain explodes with boredom, as it's probably one of the easiest paths to get you there. But if you're going to continue down this path, I'll just save you the rest of this video and give you a few recipes right off the bat. At 1000 experience, date palm wine is probably the easiest experience you're ever going to get, but have fun selling them as they're usually a loss unless date palms are down real low, which they don't really sit at for very long. Also, go ahead and cook up some King of the Jungle Hamburg, as it's the easiest 1600 XP recipe you'll ever find. This one's a lot more expensive, with lion meat sitting at a max of 14.6k pretty much always. It can be a profit depending on your mastery, but I cooked an absolute insane amount of these when I was waiting for milk or something else I was bottlenecked at. There were a few points where I was sitting at over 200,000 lion meat. So with the easy ones out of the way, let's move on to mixing profit and diversity. Our main goal is to be cooking up to meals. Here's my top 6 list. We're going to start with my favorite, Valencia meals. They sell well, have a high profit, and don't use any direct milk. Scorpion and snake meat are a massive bottleneck though, as scorpion doesn't fill very fast in the market, but snake is a little bit more prevalent. You may find that you're ending up waiting for the scorpion to fill, or you're going to have to go out and gather them in Dragon or Valencia. Lion meat can also be a really bad sticking point. It's twice the price of regular red meat. Next up is Balanos meals. Cheese is a great profit if you want to dry it and chuck it on the market and don't cook it all. This means that I can frequently buy 50,000 or more in a day, allowing Balanos meals to churn out insanely fast. I made these the most, and no, I never bothered drying my own milk, nor will I intend on doing so in the future. Next are medallas. I cooked these when I had a large chunk of milk in the bank, as well as when my pre-ordered oatmeal finally came in. They usually sit at mint and can be a loss depending on your mastery, so please keep that in mind. Then we get to Serendia. It's also pretty milk heavy, but when I had a decent store of soft bread that I pre-ordered, I would chuck some milk at the Honeycomb Cookies and I'd make these up as well. Air houses were an interesting one, because coconuts suck, and this dish was very thin margin because of it. It could easily be made, and the 2400 XP was delicious. Lastly, we have Kama meals. I just want to note these jerks because they are comparable XP to Valencia's. They're insanely easy to make minus the rainbow button mushrooms, which hardly ever fill on the market. This made them an extremely low priority for me. Sometimes the rainbow dishes were cheap enough that I could scrape a margin and make my investment back at least. Now these aren't cheap to make, and it's going to depend on what kind of capital you have to play with. Most of the time, they can be straight up sold on the market, and people will buy them up to make guru boxes with. I mix guru boxes and straight market selling myself to diversify income streams, but if you're not in a spot to really save these up until you're guru or gather up a decent amount of materials to make them, we do have a second option for you. Imperial Delivery was changed in November 2019 to be far more profitable and lucrative path of making some income with cooking. They also killed the cooking material market, and I was quite enjoying the 2000 silver meat and the milk that was sitting posted until the apocalypse destroyed my smooth sailing. Large cities have an NPC that has Imperial Crafting Delivery. In Heidel, her name is Fassvinder, and she has some very deep pockets. When you talk to her, she has a whole menu of Imperial Delivery which opens up in this UI. On the left-hand side are a bunch of crates that you can make, and here's where it shows your daily delivery quantity. On the right-hand side is any stock you may have, as well as a Sell All button. Every day at server reset, you can turn in a set amount of crates to any of the Imperial Delivery NPCs. This number is half of your CP, so at 407 I can expect to turn in 203 total, and at 408 CP I'll get 204. So 200 CP is 100 crates, and I think you get the idea from here. There are 6 different crates to turn in, depending on your cooking rank. There are more below this, but these are the legacy crates from before they changed turn-ins, and you needn't worry yourself with them. You'll see a quantity number as well, and this is how many the NPC will take at the current time. These quantities are unique per city and server, so if she's out of quantity, you can either server hop or take them to another city to turn in. This number also resets every 3 hours after the daily reset. This is important to note because boxes usually get bombarded right at the daily rollover, and I will quite frequently wait a mini reset or two if I'm late to getting into Hightail. If you hover over one of these crates, it will tell you how many dishes you need to create one. For example, I can take 15 ham sandwiches and make one master cooking box. When turning that box in, the base price is $220,000. Imperial Delivery increases that by an additional 250%, so it shows up as $550K. Cooking Mastery also gives a bonus, which is calculated on the base price, and these two bonuses are added together. For example, Guru boxes are 320,000 base. I have 1,580 mastery, which gives a 114.28% increase on profits. So then I take this formula, and it spits out 1.165 million per box. This gives me a whopping 923k profit per Guru box I'm making at my current costs and breakpoints, which yields 187.6 million per day, 1.3 billion per week, and 5.2 billion profit per month. That's a pretty nice side gig if you ask me. Side note, by the way, you make 10 imp crates per minute. It's one per every 6 seconds and it cannot fail. It's done through the processing window and Imperial Cooking. 20 minutes of my day isn't so bad for almost 200 million. I'm also going to drop a link below for probably the most wonderful spreadsheet ever created for chefs, made by Summer from the Life Skill Discord with some help from Snow, Thel, UML2, and Warflash. Thank you guys so much for this. Make a copy and stash this bad boy. If you head to the Cooking tab, you can put your mastery in for cooking and for turn-in. What that means by turn-in is what your mastery is going to be if you equip some nice mastery cooking clothes. This is 99.99% of the time when I'm using my Manos cook clothes, as we recall mastery plays a large part in Imperial turn-in bonuses. You don't need to cook or make your crates with them on, just when you're actually selling the crates to the NPC. Through the magic of math and APIs, it will spit out below your profit per box from either making the dish or by buying all of the dishes directly from the market and creating them up. This is where you should focus on to find out what to make. Let's take a look at Pickled Veg, seeing as we have about 1 billion of them from getting to M1. At 780 turn-in mastery, we're going to make 313k per box. Sweet. Let's take a look at some of the artisan boxes. At this current time, Pickled Veg is actually beating out every single one of these. So let's go down to master. So we have some juicy recipes here that will pay out more as well. Suit and milk tea, cheese gratin, ham sandwiches, etc. Just because you can make master boxes doesn't mean it's the best use of your time, however. Seeing as Pickled Veg is so easy to make, we spend less time cooking up to the dish and creating it, and adding more time focusing on cooking up to the big XP meals and the Guru boxes. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to take a step down in the sake of future gains. Pay attention to the buying the dish column as well. If you're power level in cooking, chances are you're going to end up with more food than you can box. The higher the value of these recipes, the more likely they're going to be selling in the market. You'll have to cross-reference with BDO DAE to find out what you're going to make as far as profit goes, however. An easy way to tell is by looking it up on the market. Chances are if there's 20,000 pre-orders at max price, you're going to lose some money by selling them directly. Now I know those Suit Tea and Milk Tea master boxes look pretty juicy, but I wouldn't suggest making them. My suggestion, as this is about getting to Guru, is to focus strictly on making it there, even if it means cutting out some immediate profit. We want to make meals, and every little bit of milk you use outside of the big meals is going to hurt your XP per hour. I know you can use milk tea in Calphian meals, but I avoided it like the plague as it's one of the most milk-intensive meals that there is. Which leads me to the biggest bottleneck in cooking you're likely to encounter: milk. This stuff is absolutely invaluable. The market sells it for 10.8k, but there are frequently over 100,000 pre-orders, and I can say on average I only fill about 500 a day. Sometimes more, sometimes none at all. It is in so many meals that it can really hinder XP for meal production. You can get milk from a few different ways. First, milking cows. This used to be an awful way to get milk, but it received a quantity buff recent to my recording of this. Milk is not tied to mastery, but to gathering rank. From beginner 1 to skill 10, you're going to receive 15 to 35 milk. From professional 1 to A10, 25 to 35 milk. And at M1 and above, it takes 35 to 55. It also takes 10 energy to milk a cow, and I was getting about 2,000 total from a max bracket and 400 energy. It can be wise to keep alts with a decent gathering rank out here as a side note, but the yield is severely dependent on your gathering rank. Secondly, pre-order. Keep a pre-order up at all time whether you need it or not. You're just going to thank me later. And third, side dishes. This is my primary method of getting milk. 3 strongly seasoned dishes will yield 1 milk. These gather up fairly quickly now with mass cooking. This leads me to the actual value of milk, not what its price is. In order to cook any decent quantity of a milk-limited dish, like Medaya or Serendia for example, you're going to need about 30 to 50,000 milk or more. You can see why gathering it can be very time-consuming, and the market isn't a reliable source. So I prioritize my milk the following way. My number 1 usage is oatmeal. This dish goes into 2 key recipes, Medea meals and dark pudding, which also goes into Medea meals and Serendia. Having a stockpile of oatmeal gives me 2 options. My second usage is Honeycomb Cookie. This is another key piece of the Serendia meals, and it does not fill fast when buying directly from the market. And my third is soft bread. I try not to use it for bread, but if it's in a drought on the market, I'll make a small batch just to satiate my ham sandwich needs. That's it. I won't use milk for anything else, never have, and I never will. I'll also keep the 3 of these above pre-ordered in both its regular and its rare proc form. Tying back to the crate discussion, milk, suit, tea are not on this list. That's because you can readily buy the milk tea and make master boxes and still get a large profit, allowing you to use your milk for more important things. Gathering versus buying, the great debate, to butcher or not to butcher. I'll tell you what I did first, and then I'll give you the why. I bought the following. I bought milk, oatmeal, bread, all the meat, all the flour, all the dough, all the sauces, all the strawberry, the paprika, all the pepper, onion, and garlic, even the blue ones when they were 20K. I bought the tefs, the freekas, the nutmeg, I bought the figs, I bought the anise, I bought the exotics, I bought the essences, I bought the vinegars, I bought beers, fruit wines, grilled scorp, coconut cocktail, dressing, cream, cheese, eggs, fish, honey, blood, and literally whatever else I could get my grubby little hands on. That's right, I bought literally everything except dishes that gave me more than 400 XP and even some of the 700 XP ones. Hell, I even buy some of the other dishes like rainbow button mushroom sandwiches. So sorry if you were trying to cook an NA between September 2019 and January 2020, because I stripped the market at least a dozen times a day. So why didn't I bother gathering, even though I could make such a large profit? Well, simply put, I was making sure I wasn't going to be negative overall with my finished product using BDO DAE, and I set my shopping list accordingly. This is where paths are going to start diverging more frequently. You're going to have to decide what your goal is and how hard to prioritize it. Think about it on a line graph. On one side we have profit, and on the other side we have XP. Racing to G50, I was almost redlining on the XP side of things and was playing in extremely high quantities and extremely low margins. I basically treated the market like I was a Walmart executive, and I could have chosen to make a significantly larger profit if I had made my oatmeal using manos, held meals for imp crates or higher sale prices. I could have pre-ordered my ingredients at Min and waited for it to fill. I could have gathered my own meat and milk, farmed my own hot peppers, and I think you get the point. I didn't, however, and I bought everything I could possibly to get off the market until it read 0 in stock, and then I did it again 30 minutes later. Without cutting thin margins for a quicker turnover, I would have run out of capital far sooner, and that would have completely stifled any XP gain for cooking. The idea as a whole looks like this. If you're not cooking, you're not getting cooking XP. So are you power leveling, or are you trying to make a quick buck? You need to find out what kind of chef you are, and you need to be smart about how you cook. Tying into that, the next thing I want to discuss is that of the manos cloves. These bad boys give a healthy chunk of cooking mastery, which in turn gives you more mass cooking, a higher dish average, and a higher rare proc average. So why wouldn't we use these all the time to increase our profits even more? Well, one fatal stat is missing: cooking time reduction. If you were decked out with a splendid alchemist stone, you'd still be at 3-second cooking time. And it also lacks the extra life XP, but that's not nearly as big of a hit now that we have a few different avenues of buffing up. When to use manos cloves is completely up to you. I would suggest not using them at all unless it's got at least a couple hundred mastery to make it a sizable difference in your profits. A TET, for example, would increase my proc rate from 2.89 to 3.08 and my rare proc from 0.46 up to 0.55. These are very healthy jumps, which could make it worthwhile to utilize on making things like oatmeal, but the difference in mass cooking chance is also negated by the extra 3 seconds of cooking time it adds. So I can't tell you if it's worth it for you, as we're all playing the game differently. I personally started using them a little bit more after I hit G50, and I started looking more for profit rather than XP. I didn't use them a single time leading up to it though, because 1 second cooking time was far more valuable to my personal goals. You might be thinking, did I even give you any recipes to cook? Well, I did, but I decided to teach you how to fish a little bit. By giving you single recipes, it can actually tank the market pretty quickly and ruin the entire point of this video. Cooking is one of those life skills where you can make a quick profit by cooking a dish that somebody tells you to, or you can dig in a little bit more and turn a far larger profit. Pick a meal and focus on what you need to make in order to churn out that final product. Choose what you're going to buy and what you're going to make. Also choose what you're going to take the time to gather as well, and if it's worth you taking the time out of actually cooking. When I was just starting out in early 2019, I was making a lot more than I was buying because I only had about 500 mil worth of capital after I sold all my pitiful PvE gear. Investing and reinvesting eventually turned that small amount into an empire of cooking materials with some good old-fashioned math and time. Mastery makes this so much faster as well. The decisions were more difficult when I couldn't pump out 13,000 grilled sausage in 15 minutes. By the way, I ended up going from Master 1 to Master 4 while writing this video out by making about 30,000 grilled sausages, so it's still worth it to make these low XP dishes while you're on your charge through the earlier ranks. Every breakpoint of mastery you get will yield more profit. That brings me to the end of this massive wall of info. I ended up going backwards to what I had initially intended when I set out to make this video, which was build up to a meal and just cooking it. I, however, felt that this information today provided was far more valuable in building a strong knowledge foundation and will help you learn the next chunk a lot easier in the long run. So next time we're going to go into some ways of using BDO DAE to actually make big XP meals, which will get you to Guru in no time flat. So feel free to start into it with some meals I gave early in the video if you're feeling comfortable. Thanks for watching. It's always my pleasure, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.